Hey everybody, welcome to Escape the 8-Bar Loop, episode 4. Today we're working with a track at 140 BPM, Steppers dub type track, meaning like a little bit of reggae sounds with a 4/4 electronic beat. There's my monitor screen. Say hi when you get here in the chat. I'm Steve Knotts, and this is how to escape the 8-Bar Loop. So what are we doing here? Well, it's really easy to make a new track in Ableton Live and come up with a bunch of loops that sound fun. It could be short drum loops or MIDI tracks that you program in, or something you get from a sample pack. But then what do you do to end up with a piece of music that has buildups, peaks, and drops, and feels like a full track without just getting bored and sitting there for hours and hours and hours, like muting and unmuting and fooling around? I'm going to show you what I do, and this is something that will work for every genre of electronic music. It doesn't matter if you're making house, techno, downtempo, whatever. It'll work. So to start off with, we have the starting loop. So let's take a look at what these basic sounds are. This is something that I would come up with in, an evening of just kind of fooling around. You pick a tempo, pick a BPM, pick a key signature, and make it up as you go along. There's a melody line that I'm going to mute right now because it gets a little repetitive while I'm talking. Just to introduce the parts, notice this kick drum is an 8-bar cycle with a gap here at 7. That makes it, instead of being a never-ending loop of just beats, like we have right here, this one called solid kick, never-ending loop, doesn't do anything different, which is okay. You want that for some parts of the song, but it helps a lot to take your loops and make them into phrases, meaning there's like an 8-bar turnaround or a drum break or something at the end, like a gap, to indicate something is changing. That does two things. Number one, it tells the dance floor that a little change is coming up. And number two, as a producer, it tells you it's time to add a new sound, take a new sound away, or change the music in a way to keep it interesting. So turning little short loops into phrases is the number one thing you can do right away to turn your short loops into more interesting music. That's a sub bass part with, this is kind of interesting. I have a return over here on D with the new Roar plugin going on to add some fuzz layer. There's clean sub, hope you can hear that on your system. And a little buzz on top, a little crackle on top. And a fast bass line to go on top of the sub. This has some stereo effects on it. I think there's wider from Polyverse. Yes, there is. We have an intro sound doing a little modulation with analog instrument, right? Yep, that's that. Just introducing the sounds that make up the loop. We have a vocal sample. Synchronized with some effects. Organ. We have the melody line coming from operator. Throw it up in the delay and mute it. Now some other kind of basics. Hi-hats, clap layer, drum loop, and little amen drum break coming in once in a while. I like to use a short drum loop in an 8-bar phrase. So just to review this little amen drum break deal, it only happens for a short time. And then I have a long audio file that's 8 bars long of silence. So that 8 bars is looping. The drum break comes in at the beginning and then goes away. So I don't have to have it in all the time in the track and get sick of it. I also don't have to go over here and mouse over and click on it to launch it when I feel like it. It's just going to keep going every 8 bars. I can mute that clip and not have it in the entire song, but for a basic strategy, I have it available. And I also made some other clips with slight variation where it happens twice during the 8-bar loop for a part of the song where there's a little more activity going on. Then I did some sound design with some risers. Notice these are audio files 8 bars long. So I can launch this, fire it off, leave it looping as a kind of a synth element in the track, or play it as a one-shot to add something happening. Let's play another one. These are fun, I just made these today. This is a chord tone stacking up with some filter moving and an LFO modulating the pen position and volume. That one trails off after 9 bars, so we're going to let that be a single shot. They're all slightly different, same sound, but the filters are moving a little differently. When you're designing risers, it's a good idea to make a few of them. I did this by resampling these MIDI instruments And it helps to make a few different risers of 8 bars or 16 bars so you can use them at different parts of the song and they don't get too repetitive. I'm sure you've heard tracks where it's like the same white noise riser every time at every build up and it's like a little bit sampley. It's like you can tell it's kind of predictable. And we don't want that. Here's one that is higher chord tones, maybe for later in the song to take to a little bit of a higher peak. A little resonance in the filter. And the last one is a 16 bar phrase. I'll unloop that. And notice I'm muting down some drums while this is playing. So while that riser is firing off, I change the beat a little bit. And then we're in a new song section. A few sounds dropped out. It stayed interesting. New sound, new scene. Other risers. This is more like a static. That would definitely get annoying too often, but I created this to have something to move around to get in between song sections, like a signal. Again, it's about 8 bars long. Disappears with a high-pass filter up into space, and that will be a good signal for the end of the build-up or introducing a new song section. Like this one. Got some pulse, filter moving. So those are the elements I'm going to use to make a track. The clips that you see in this section over here, I put them in a whole top section called ingredients to draw from when I'm building my track. Now, this is an important technique too. Take all the clips you create, copy them up to the very top of your session in session view, and leave them there. What you don't want to do is get annoyed with your arrangement or your session, delete everything, and then find out that you erased a MIDI performance that you really liked, or you erased an audio clip that you had to edit in the timeline and consolidate, and then you have to go and do it all over again. Or even worse, if you erase a sample and you can't find it again, that's annoying and it's a problem. So make a scene at the top called ingredients and just put all of your ideas up there as a starting pool of musical ingredients to play with. Then we can go on to building a track. Now, here's the good news. The only thing you need to do for electronic music is build a peak and drop a beat. So if you think about like the roots of electronic music with a drum machine and a synthesizer, the drum machine's playing the beat, the synth is playing the bass line and the chords. It might be just a 2-part multi-timbral MIDI synth. So what do you do to play a track? You press play on the drum machine, you press play on the sequencer, you get the beat going. Then when you're a little bit bored and it's going on too long, you mute the kick drum and you create a buildup where the drums drop out and the synth is still playing. Then you take the synth filter, you do a big filter sweep, get everybody to throw their hands up in the air, and at the peak of that filter sweep after 16 bars or 32 bars or 8 bars or whatever, then you drop the beat back in there again with a cymbal crash and the music is back on and people are loving it. That's all you have to do is basically cut the beat, make people wait, do a build up while they're waiting, and then drop the beat again. So to get there, we're gonna do 2 basic scenes with the beat and the breakdown. And this is something you can do in any genre of music. It's always going to work, but the different genres have different timing and spacing and duration and all that kind of false drop or whatever. But the basic idea is we're going to cut the beats out for part of it and drop the beat back in, and it's going to make it into music. Here we go with the beat. You've been listening to this already for a while, so you know what it sounds like. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Say hi in the chat. See you coming in. 2. Here we come around. 8 bars. Okay, this is another scene. Same sounds, no beat. We're gonna let this go. There's a synchronized signal, there's a drum break. And we're back into the beat. So just by playing with these 2 scenes, I can create some interesting music. Next time we go to the break, I'm gonna shoot off this riser and let that roll. Now I can even watch the riser go across through to 9 bars, or to 8 bars, and it gets cut off right there. That was a little bit shocking. You know what's a fun trick? I'm gonna actually start developing this. I want this riser to continue for 16 bars after I drop the beat. So what we can do is I'll make a new scene down here. And what I'm gonna do is catch all the clips that are playing and make a new scene. So I select the one called break, I do capture and insert or duplicate on push, Now I have a new scene that's got the beat drop with that riser. And over here on the riser, we're going to set it to legato launch mode, which means it's going to pick up playing from the place it left off. Listen to what happens after I do this breakdown and go into the drop. This riser is going to continue playing even when we change clips. 4, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4. Check that out. That kept playing across the drop. So you can still hear the riser extending and continuing to flow after this track or scene launches. I'm gonna turn off loop because I don't want it to keep going. So let me stop and review this technique. This is really important. We played a long clip that's 16 bars long. We duplicated it on 2 different scenes so we can keep using it. And then I went and turned on the legato launch mode. That's not the same as legato MIDI notes. It's not gonna make the MIDI notes longer. It means technically in Ableton speech takes over the play position from the previously playing slot in that track. We can do this the opposite way. We can start this riser right here and continue it into the breakdown. Let's hear what that sounds like. 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 4, 2, 3, 5, 2, 6, 7, 2, 4, 8, 2, 3, 4, 9. So now we have this synth wash sound extending across into the breakdown. Kind of has a little crescendo around bar 13. And that's the beginning of how I build scenes. So let's review what we did so far. When you're trying to escape the 8-bar loop, number one, you have to have an idea. So if you don't have any ideas, go do something else. I'm sorry. Build your ingredients at the beginning. Open up an Ableton project, make an idea, keep all your clips on one scene so you have a loop you can play. However many ideas you get, make some clip stacks to save the different versions, like the different parts of the song, different chord progressions, and keep them all up top in your ingredients section. So up in the top of your session, in session view, you have all the clips, all your ideas in one place. Don't just sit here and launch clips and play different variations and wonder how to turn it into a track. Now, after you have your variations, make 2 basic scenes. One of them is the full track with the beats and instruments and everything. The other one is a variation that has the instruments with no beats. So bass line, synth pads, leads, chords, risers, whatever. Make a scene with no beats, and you can simply go back and forth between these 2 and launch them, and you'll have a cool piece of music. At that point, if you have a small session and you want to just use the mute switches to make the track interesting and cut parts out and bring parts back in, you can do that. You can play with the effect sends and play with reverb and delay to make an interesting living dub mix on the aux returns. Or you can keep going and build song sections you like. So let's look at the capture and insert technique where we are duplicating sounds to get through the song. This is a little bit like going through the timeline and having the intro for 8 bars and then the mix in and then drop 1 and then a breakdown and then drop 2. Yeah, I build in the arrangement and I also mix down and create final versions in the arrangement. But the way I get there is by playing with different clips and loops. I almost said cloops. So building song sections you like. Let's play through. What do we got? This is the beginning. How do I know how long it's going to go? Well, I have an 8-bar clip with the synchronized word coming in. So when I hear the word synchronized, that's like the opening of the song. I drop a beat. 8 bars, beat drops. I want to use the top timeline. If you look at the transport up top, we'll see 8 bars happening. Now we can count 8, 16, 32. Drop 1. Keep it simple. Kick drum, beat. The upper bass line is in. The sub is not in. Second time we hear the word synchronized, now I drop this beat without the intro section. So that opening sound is gone. Now we're just into a basic drop. Now I just did a little trick there to get into drop 2. This one is called legato gap. Here we have, these clips are going to continue playing. The kick drum is gone. I'm making a little mini breakdown. And in fact, to make this even cooler, this little scene called legato gap is the same as this breakdown. It's just like the existing synths, the bass line, the synchronized word, and we're going to cut the beat. So let me go through that again. Here's an 8-bar phrase, cut the beat, and go into drop 2. 2, 2, count in your head. 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2. 6, 2, 7, 8. A little drum break comes in as a signal when it's time to do something, so the DJ wakes up, and then we go into the next drop. What happened? Oh, we got the fast ticks coming in. New scene, new sound. This is how you keep it interesting. We haven't heard this in the track yet. Seems like we have a little breakdown here. No beats, a riser comes in, and the chords come in. And now we're into a drop with the organ. If you look on the master channel over here on the right, I label my scenes with just one clue of what's coming in, like the bubble organ. Now the intro is going to come back, then there's a breakdown. So let's go to the part where the intro sound comes in. Oh, I remember that. I heard that at the beginning of the track. It's familiar, comes back in. Maybe next time we'll do a little bit of effects or something on there. Now we're into breakdown. What do we have? Bassline, the opening intro synth, the chords happening, the ticks are happening. This is gonna get a riser, and we go to the next breakdown section. And that's more like the empty drop. I'm gonna legato that so I can launch this section and continue on over. Drop 3, what do we got here? A new bass line we haven't heard yet. Familiar beats, familiar loops, chords. All the drums are in, the clap came in. So every scene has a new sound coming in or a new sound leaving to keep it interesting. If you go through your session and launch each scene, play it for 8 bars and move on, you'll have a cool piece of music, and we're doing it by making variations. Next up's gonna come the melody. So I'd say like this is the peak of the track where all the sounds are in, the melody's in. This is the original idea that I started with. All the layers, I'm imagining people dancing, hands up, high frequency, all good. And coming after this, the melody is gonna get a little stale, so we're gonna mute the melody and do something else. And right here, I think I want to do a scene with no synchronized sound. Let's get that out of there. We've got this riser happening. Okay, so that's the basic plan, is make a new scene for every different sound coming in and out. You play through the master scene in session view and launch every scene for 8 bars. At the end of the 8 bars, you hear a signal like a drum break or something variation that's telling you it's time to change, and you go to the next scene. And when you want to make the new scenes, you use the capture and insert command. So let's build the ending of the track. I got up to drop 3 with the peak and the melody. How do we get from this section to the mix out? Let's keep it simple and just cut the clap and cut the clap. And we'll cut that sound right. Okay, right here, I have a variation of this scene, but not every clip is playing. Simply select the scene, do capture and insert. I don't know if you can see the menus, but in Create, there's a command called Capture and Insert, Shift Command I, or on Push, you can use the duplicate button in the user mode with scenes, not clips. And we're basically creating a new scene that has the clips we want. At this part, we're doing a build down to get into the ending of the track. Let's use one of these risers. Now I want a new scene where that's happening. I don't want synchronized in there. Okay. What should we cut next time? Let's cut the upper bass and the ticks and play the synchronized. So the next scene that comes in, now that's a bass and drums kind of a dub. Let's use some of these long risers we made. Where's that 16 bar one? That was number 5. Cut that little drum break, cut the synchronized word, and make a new scene with this happening. And that riser I want to continue across, so make sure that's in legato mode. And I want to make sure the word synchronized comes in with that last sound. So hopefully the track is going to end on the word synchronized with the end of that riser, and we'll move through these scenes. So how did we get here? We were in this fast drop with the sub and the ticks and everything. Let's start up here and see if we can go through these different scenes 8 bars at a time and get down to an ending down there. Label that ending, so I know that's what I'm doing. Click with the mouse. Talk to yourself. 2, 2. Count in your head. 4, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4. Now we're taking away layers and getting towards an ending. 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, this last synchronized needs to be up here at 8 bars. Let's try this again. 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3. And that's how I want it to end. The riser goes up and sweeps, the drums go into an echo and delay, and it ends with the word synchronized. So it started with the word synchronized and the intro sound, ended with the word synchronized and the intro beats. And that's how I did it. And you can see that I kind of built the ending on the fly by choosing which clips are going to be playing, muting something every 8 bars, and getting down towards nothing. When I was starting the track, I did that same process where I started with the intro sound, and then I added new sounds every time and made a new sound. New sound, new scene. And it's easy to get clips all over the place. If you're up here in your idea world and you're just like playing clips, there's one up on this scene, 2 down here, 1 over here. Like, that's cool for creativity, and Ableton is nice that you have a sketch pad where you can play different clips from all over the place. But as soon as you press stop and stop all clips, that idea is lost. You're like, what was that combination? That beat was so cool. I got it on recording, but I don't know what was in there. And the layers are mixed up and you don't know which clap and hi-hat were in there with which bass line. And it's just like lost, like in a puff of smoke. So what I like to do is use the duplicate command, the capture and insert command, so that when I create a sound with clips all over the place, I can get it back again. Let me just show you that really, really clearly. Here is a bunch of empty space. I'm going to create a crazy scene of clips from all over the place. And you'll see how it works with capture and insert. And I'm fooling around right now, enjoying the music because that's what we're here for. So here we have like the kick drum is up there. The bass line is in 2 places with the sub, and there's a thing over here. Now, like I said before, if I stop all the clips, that combination is going to be lost. But I select a scene right here, do capture and insert, and look, all those clips are in place in one scene. The kick, the bass, the sub, the intro loop, the ADSR loop, and the ticks and the crash thing. So now I can get it all back. Command-Shift-I. That is essentially the coolest thing about working with Session View. It's a sketch pad, you can jam, you can improvise, but you don't have to lose your ideas, and you don't have to do it as a crazy hyper live set where you're all stressed out and trying to remember stuff on the fly. What you can do instead of all that, stress and confusion, is go into your timeline, hit the big red button, and press play. This is how you end up with a piece of music that's finished that you can mix down and get mastered as a real release and still keep that feeling of playing on the fly. So I know that loop is in there in the drop. I want to go to a little gap thing. So what if I use these scenes that I built over here Let's start playing around a little bit. What's happening? It's recording into the arrangement so I can keep the song structure that I'm getting. I even can record my session view automation. Get some other stuff happening. And this whole performance is getting recorded into the arrangement so I can move through my arrangement. I'm going a little fast because I'm talking and kind of showing you the illustration, but I'm moving through what I built in session view and getting something recorded into the timeline that's going to feel like a piece of music at the end. But you know what? I'm feeling like I don't want to play the whole song, so I'm going to skip out of this section into my ending. Another big advantage of session view is you can change your song form however you want and move through the sounds and the scenes to create a new song structure every time you play it. So for the people who are performing live or doing, live sets on Twitch or something, you can make a track in session view and play it like you're playing with a band where it comes out a little different every night. You're not sure what's going to happen, but you know the main areas like the verse, chorus, breakdown. You know what targets you're going to hit in the track for buildups and peaks and drops, but you don't have to be locked into a boring karaoke timeline where you're just watching the track and, tweaking one EQ on the DJ mixer. Wah, 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 wah. Okay, here comes our saw rise synth. I'm cutting the kick drum a little bit early right here. Go extra on the delay. Now we can stop all clips. Let the tails run out. Don't press stop until the tails have completely diminished. You learn that from recording live sound. You wait another couple seconds after you think the reverbs have died down so you don't cut off your reverb tails. And then you press stop. Then we hit F10. And what do we got? 2 minutes long of music that I just recorded during this workshop while talking that has all the automation and everything in the track that we played from session view. So I can go back right here and mix this thing down and put it out as whatever I want to put out. That's basically how you escape the 8-bar loop. So while we're listening to this, I'm going to turn this down a little bit so you can hear me. It's only 7:30. Good. I like to keep these workshops short and to the point so you can do this in your own music. This is what I would tell someone to do right now if they had a new track in Ableton Live that they just started. So number 1, start in session view. It's a great sketch pad to try different ideas and see what fits together. Number 2, keep all your ideas up at the top in a section titled ingredients so you don't lose any of your good ideas. Next up, you can make a great track with only 2 scenes. One has the beats and the bass line and everything. The other scene has no drums. That's your breakdown. Just alternating between the full beat drop and the breakdown is how you make electronic music. And then guess what? You embellish that. During the breakdown, you shoot off a riser, and during the beat drop, you play with different beat layers. So you don't drop all the beats on the first drop, like keep some special beats for later in the track so that every drop has a new layer that we haven't heard before. Top clue for making tracks. After you have your 2 scenes and an idea of how to move between them, play around with using the legato switch to have a few clips that continue across the breakdown, like a long riser or something, to make this continuous transition so your tracks don't just jump from one section to the other. They have smooth sounds that continue across, and that could be a synth pad, a riser, a white noise sound. The world of sound design is wide open for that, and you can play around with it and have a really good time. The other really important thing is using the command capture and insert to add new scenes. So when you're playing different clips from different parts of session view, every time you find a combination you like, do capture and insert or duplicate from push and make a new scene. The rule is new sound, new scene. So then every 8 bars, you can fire off a different scene, launching them from the master channel, and you will get a track that develops over time. At the beginning, we start with a few sounds and we add new ones. So each of the new scenes has a new sound we haven't heard before. And then at the end of the track, you can see there's like a peak section in the middle where almost everything is playing. And after that, some sounds start dropping out. Oh, we lose this one, we lose this one, we lose that one, we lose the beats, and down at the end, it's just a riser and a little vocal sample. And we get to the end of the music. And you can build the whole thing almost literally on the fly, just like shaping a piece of pottery on a pottery wheel, touching it, oozing it, moving it around, playing with it. It's a living thing, like melted or wet clay. That's how I like to think about making tracks with Ableton Live. It's like throwing clay on a pottery wheel. It's spinning, you touch it, it moves, you just intuitively think of how you want it to go, and it can follow and do that. And the best part is we recorded the whole thing into the arrangement where we can mix it down and get it mastered for a final release. So basically that's how to escape the 8-bar loop. If you have any questions, you've got like 30 seconds to drop them in the chat because I'm going to stop the stream to make sure you have enough time to watch this and then turn off YouTube and start making tracks in live. But the last thing I want to show you is where you can find some of my lessons. Store Mixitecture.com. This is my Gumroad shop where you have some Ableton Live packs that come with built-in tutorials where you can actually do the stuff that we're talking about in these projects and play with it. The one that's most like tonight is called Moss Vibes. It's a different song, but you get an Ableton pack that has a bunch of tracks and a bunch of scenes where you can go through the intro, build, peak, drop, breakdown, and everything, and play through and jam with the track to figure out how it works. Then if you like 99 BPM downtempo, you can replace the MIDI, put in some new chords, and have your own track. It's like a template and session view that you can play through the scenes and get your own piece of music with the song structure you like. There's also a version in this live pack of my dub where you have a song from start to finish. If you want to reverse engineer how I made a cool piece of music that's interesting for 5 or 6 minutes, you can find that in there. This is Moss Vibes Playable Live Set for Ableton Live. It's here on Gumroad, Mixitecture Ableton Tutorials. There's also some really fun stuff like the Make Space for Bass Mixdown course where you learn to mix by doing guided projects inside Live. I put the tutorial inside Live where you can learn by doing it. We got a DJ template and we got a couple freebies down here. There's a universal channel strip, which is what I use for mixing on all my tracks, like EQ compression, utility, gate limiter, the basic audio engineering tools. Your knife and fork are in there. There's some EQ things on EQ and filter types. It's really good lessons on EQing and some other fun sound design things. The drum polisher, dub verb flanger, that's free. The kick drum punisher is a distortion rack that actually works cool. Somebody was using it on vocals the other day. And some other fun stuff. So that's there on Mixitecture Ableton Tutorials. If you're watching in the replay, please also drop a comment. Let me know where you are, what you want help with, and I'll be happy to make another tutorial or something to help you out. And that's it for this time. Thanks so much for watching. And I'm on weeknights on YouTube with other tutorials like mixdown techniques, how to escape the 8-bar loop, multi-track dub mixing where you do performances with these tracks. And I hope to see you back again soon. Thanks so much for coming. I'm Steve Knotts. See you next time.